Hey, coaches, we got a special early morning edition, and we got a fantastic guest with us, Justin Grandenetti, and obviously we call him Coach G. Is the offensive coordinator, recruiting coordinator, social media coordinator, and receiver coach at Jack Britt High School, which is in Fayetteville, North Carolina, a powerhouse program there. Coach is going to share his favorite receiver drill, and then I think two different drills. And Coach G, excited to have you on here, man. We've had to work our schedule to make it happen, but Coach G was the one who did the Zoom coaching clinics during the lockdown and did such a great job. It was like, I don't know, 3 months straight of just best clinics in the world. And, appreciate you doing that for the coaches, because it was free and it took you a lot of time. You were there constantly. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing these drills with us, buddy.
No, absolutely, Coach. And I'm just returning the favor because, Coach Salas obviously jumped on there a few times and, had some tremendous clinics, and a lot of people learned from it. And it was just awesome to be able to give back. And, obviously it led to stuff like this, connecting with great coaches like yourself. And it took a little bit to coordinate and get a time, but we're here. So I'm excited, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Well, I appreciate you being here, man, and looking forward to stealing your ideas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. You want me to just go ahead and share my screen?
Yeah, let's jump in.
Cool. All right, awesome. So I'm going to talk about when it comes to route running. To me, this is just the game changer. I got it from Coach Dub. Obviously, he's well known in the receiver world. He's probably the godfather of receiver play in many aspects. And trains a bunch of great pros. Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams and Sammy Watkins and Nelson Aguilar, and the list goes on. And this is something that I kind of picked up from him, and there's different variations of it that, either, he does or I kind of tweaked to myself, and there's just a bunch of stuff. But this to me has been the game changer when it comes to route running for the simple fact of when you learn and teach yourself how to drop your hips violently, it decreases your break time. So now you're getting in and out of your breaks a lot faster, okay? You're going up against somebody, for the most part, who is going backwards while you're going forward. They don't know what you're doing. You do know what you're doing. So if you're able to snap down and get in and out of breaks efficiently, effectively, and violently, you're going to be able to create a lot of separation. So this drill that I'm going to show you is a small variation, and then we kind of open it up a little bit, and I kind of handle it differently. And I'll tell you something, Coach. Like, this has become so important to us that this is now an extension of our warm up. So like, I dynamic warm up these guys, and then the next thing we do is we get into our hip drop stuff. So this one right here is, you'll see the cones are pretty close together. All right, they're about 1.5 yards to 2 yards potentially. And what they do is they go about 50% between each cone, and then just drop violently at the cone. All right, and they kind of continue to go. A couple of these guys you'll see now. This is back over the summer. A couple of these guys you see, they could probably benefit from slowing down just a little bit, because the focus is really just getting your hips down, learning how to just drop your hips. So I'll go ahead and play the clip. Okay, so you see this first guy coming up, and it's just literally as you come up to the cone, all right, you want to drop down violently, and continue to go. All right, a couple things you want to be aware of is that upper body. Okay, Coach Dub always talks about keeping that upper body intact. You don't want to necessarily whip your upper half too much, or really at all. You would like to, if my natural body lean is here, all right, I just want to drop my hips down. The problem is, especially when guys are first learning it, all right, they whip their upper half to create more force or more momentum. So the problem with that is, when you whip your upper half, it propels you forward, right? Your momentum is going to take you forward and potentially past the break, all right, and it puts you in a bad body position. So the focus is really just hip drop, hip drop, all right, hip drop, and then they'll catch a football at the end. Okay. So like this dude, all right, he's kind of, he's taking it a little bit, he's kind of, the pace is okay, but I'd like to see him kind of just continue to work towards the cone, like continue to work towards the cone and then drop at the cone. It's not bad. All right. But once again, the focus is really on getting those hips down. All right. Getting them down violently. All right. You want to end up in a position that, your feet are firmly on the ground, right? Because if I was going to break or plant or drive out of here, all right, I can't plant or drive effectively if my heel is up in the air. You know what I mean? If I'm just on my toes or the balls of my feet, I'm going to be off balance. I used to train quarterbacks, and the guy I learned from, when we talk about quarterback play and really driving off that back foot and making sure that, you're having enough force driving off that back foot. He always used to say, you can't launch a missile off a rowboat, meaning, if your heels are up, all right, you're going to be off balance. Okay. So I kind of take that and incorporate that. And here is, we want to make sure that, our feet are firmly planted as we do plant. All right. Because when we do break, if our heel is up, now we don't have that firm platform to drive out, and it's not going to be as effective. If that makes sense. So
Which one of these has the upper body that you want?
So for the most part, they're not bad. If you see here, like he's probably whipping his head the most out of this group so far, as you see, kind of like whipping it down. It's still not bad though. Like, it's not necessarily the worst position. I just, when we start to speed it up, you'll see there may be a guy or two that kind of whips, but and once again, the deal, coach, overemphasizing in practice is not a bad thing, because in the game, you're always going to kind of scale back. So for the most part, they were all pretty good. All right. Here you can see now he's whipping just a little bit, right? But once again, all right, he's, the force that we're looking for, he's creating. Now, the last one was really whippy. You see how the position, that's a bad position. Okay. You don't want to be, right. You don't want to be staring at the ground like that. And he's gotten he basically crunched up way too much. So we want to avoid that, but it goes from him looking to create more force. And that's what's going to happen, especially early on with these guys. I mean, a lot of these guys, like this kid in the red shirt at this point, has been doing it a good amount, but it's still something that you constantly have to harp on and make sure they're doing it right, because you want to make sure it's perfect. All right. Or damn near perfect. All right. But it's super, super effective. And like to sound a little bit smart, right? I throw a little physics equation at them, right? Which force equals mass times acceleration. So we want to create or generate more force into that ground. All right. So how we do that, mass times acceleration, I got to get my body mass down as fast as possible. And how I do that is with my hips. Okay. So if I can get my hips down, and you'll see, and if you note it, and if you're ever watching film or you're watching guys, run routes, and you see dudes that don't get down violently, you're going to see how many steps it takes them to get in and out of their break. So as a coach and even as a player, you're thinking, wow, dang, it's taking me 5 or 6 steps to get out of this break. That is so long. That's taking so much time. And you're giving that defender more of an opportunity to react to it. Now, if you're getting out in 2 or 3 steps because your feet are so forceful, your hips are getting down, it just becomes that much better. One of the analogies that I use is, everyone always talks about quick feet, which is great, but you want to have quick and powerful feet, quick and powerful steps. And my analogy is, I equate it to, like, if I'm driving in a car and say I'm going 60 miles an hour, all right, and a stop sign is coming up, okay, and I'm approaching it pretty fast. I can't sit there and lightly tap on the gas, on the brake pedal. I'm not gonna be able to stop. I got to jam on it. I got to put force on that brake pedal so I can stop. It's the same thing. I'm running a 12, 15 yard dig, curl, comeback. Okay. And I want to really break and stop on a dime. If I don't generate force, if my hips don't get down fast, I'm not going to be able to stop effectively. It's going to take me way too many steps. Okay. So like this kid, here's a perfect example, right? A lot of whip. See that? Too much whip right there. Okay. he was still new to this at this point. Now he's come a long way. I actually just worked with him yesterday, but you could see so much whip, so much head whip. All right, too much. Okay, so he's he had to clean that up. The guy behind it is not even a tight end, or he just comes and trains sometimes, but he's a very good athlete. But you see him, his body position is good, but his hips, right, like right here, not violent enough, not violent enough. And you'll see when they start to speed it up. So now, right, I got on him before about keeping his upper body intact, and now he's doing that. Now he's just got to get his hips down a little more violently. But overall, right, he's really striving to keep that upper body intact. The last one, right, a little whippy, but other than that, it's pretty good. This kid's striving, obviously, to be more violent, okay? And I'm telling you, you're gonna see, and I got a couple clips. I got a couple clips from some half-line stuff that we did, and I'll show even a clip from the pros or two, and you're gonna see like when dudes are running 15 yards at full speed, and they're able to just shut it down, snap it down, and just get in and out of the break fast. It's almost becomes impossible to defend, because once again, as the defender, you don't know when that dude is gonna stop. All you see is vertical. All you see is fade until it's not. And then at that point, if the hips are violent and you're getting out effectively in minimal steps, it's really difficult to defend. So now we get to a point where they're gonna run. They're gonna run as hard as they can and approach the cone and now snap it down. All right. So you see here, this is pretty good. Okay. Now there's a slight, super slight, and I'm nitpicking. I call it roller coastering. Is so as he's approaching the cone, our approach wants to be low to lower. So if I'm here, as I approach my break, I get here. Any roller coastering, any going up to go down is an indicator that you're about to break. And we don't want to have any indicators, because obviously that helps the defender, right? It's like playing poker. It's like playing poker and then like showing your hand a little bit. We don't want to do that. Okay. So while this is not terrible, all right, I obviously got to nitpick a little bit, but you see, he's snapping it down. This is a pretty violent, it's a pretty violent hip drop right here. Okay, now he's kind of working a little bit of what we call a false accelerator, and that's kind of opening up that stride right there to snap down. Okay, it's just another effective tool, but you see he's able to come to a stop pretty well. All right, and then in this drill, right, they'll constantly reset. They'll constantly reset off the cone and get a running start. So here, that's pretty good too, right? You see the violence in the hips. All right, he could even benefit from doing it better, but you know what? That's pretty good. So, coach, if you put this in a drill or you put this in a game, all right, and you see something like this where a kid is opening up and running, and say he has someone next to him, and now all of a sudden he snaps it down and comes out, that's very difficult to defend. Very difficult to defend. All right. So you see, he's going to approach the cone, then he's going to back up off the cone, and then get another running start. These are just short. We're going at full speed, but they're just short bursts, especially when they're learning, and they're building this into their repertoire and into their system. Right. You don't want to necessarily elongate it, because it's better to just kind of shorten it up for now so they get used to it. All right. Eventually, right, we can start to open it up where we'll go 10 yards, we'll go 12 yards and stuff like that. But in the beginning, especially with our warm up, I keep it short. All right. So this approach, another good one, he's snapping it down. Okay. So you can get in and out of a break effectively doing that for sure. Okay. That kid's he's a junior. This kid coming up will be a junior as well. All right. So now you see you could probably see the difference, coach, with just how whippy he is. I don't know why I didn't have this. How whippy that head is, right? You see that?
Mm-hmm.
So while it's not the end of the world, okay, can he still get in and out of the break effectively? Sure. But we want to eliminate that. It's just too much false movement that we don't need. And once again, that whip could potentially propel your body forward past that break. And now instead of your momentum really going down and your hips going down, it's coming more like this, going forward, and it could just kind of it could, you won't be as effective or efficient, I should say. Okay, but he gets pretty violent. He just has to keep that upper body intact. All right, here's the other. So if you notice, like this one, let's see. Boom. All right, not bad. Now watch this guy coming up. You'll see, and I'm telling you, like I said, he was he worked out with me yesterday. He's come a long way, but this right here is just not violent enough. It's too soft, right? It's just, he can do it. Like now, watching him now is like night and day, and that's not terrible. It's just he could be more violent, and it's just training your body to want to snap it down. Like you just have to want to do it. And it's funny because like I'll get the guys and I'll say, I'll get on them. Hey man, like you got to get it down more violently and blah, blah, blah. And then the next rep, I'm on them about it and then they do it. And I'm like, you didn't change. You didn't get faster. You didn't get stronger, nothing. It was just you telling yourself, hey, let me snap. Like I just got to snap this down as fast as possible. That's all it is. And that's all it is. Okay. Boom, it's pretty, he's snapping it down pretty well. Okay, so now, and one thing that he's doing, and this is a pretty clean rep, you can see that there's really no indicator, right? He's kind of just, he's running, and he's just snapping it down. We say low to lower, okay? And then his upper body is staying intact, all right? There's no whip there. That's a good position right there, okay? So he's doing a really good job here. All right. Once again, I can nitpick and hey, get it down more violently, but you see snapping it down. All right. He can do more, but you know what? That's pretty good. All right. And you can see now you're able to come to that stop, snap it down. All right. They work to each cone. All right. And then at the end, I'll be at the end and then they catch a football. All right. This is a good one, right? You see how he's snapping it down violently? Boom. Boom. Okay. I'm telling you, coach, like, for the guys I work with and a lot of dudes, like, it's such a game changer. When you really start to just focus on this, it's just, the route running just becomes so clean. And I tell the guys all the time, like, you can even have, say, lackluster footwork. Like, let's just say your footwork wasn't the best in your break. Guys can still get in and out of their breaks faster if they do this. Like there are some certain instances with Silent Hustle, we do a weekly countdown, and this is weeks and weeks ago. But Jakeem Grant from the Dolphins had a rep in the game where his footwork wasn't the cleanest, but his hips were so violent that it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. Okay, so that's just kind of some of the breakpoint stuff that we do. Excuse me, the violent hip drop stuff that we do. And like I said, coach, this has now become an extension of our warm up. And once again, there are different variations. You saw the real short one in the beginning. All right, this one where we run to it. This one, I typically do this one the most. And what I do is before we get running, they go from one cone to the next. The first 2 reps are at 50%. And we're kind of working like a left-right cadence and then a right-left cadence. And then we speed it up to 75. Okay. And then we run and we go 100. All right. And then what I'll do is there'll be a few cones here and I'll take one cone out. So there's a short one and then a long one when we start to run. So they can just get some different variations. There's another one where they'll just start, just out of their stance. And they just get on and sprint. And now they go on a verbal cue where I tell them to get down, and they drop their hips and kind of throttle down. And then I tell them to go and they sprint again. And I say down and they drop their hips down again. And then they catch the football. So, and I've seen different variations from other coaches. Like you can get creative with this. All right. You just want to make sure that you're incorporating and really focusing on the hip drop itself. But there's a lot of different ways you can do this.
Man, this is absolutely fantastic. I hate to say it. I have never focused on this, and I immediately see what a game changer it is.
And I'm going to show you a couple clips, Coach, and you'll really see. But and I'll be honest, like like my first year coaching receivers at Britt, for instance, never a focus of mine. Like I said, I owe it all to Coach Dub. That's where I got it from. Obviously, a lot of coaches use it now, but that's where I initially saw it, and I'm like, man, like this is so great. And I mean, he even goes down to like, and if you ever see like his stuff on Twitter at wideouts, like they go through their stuff. I mean, he times their breaks, and all that stuff. My buddy, my buddy Coach Vanucci, I know he does he does a lot of timing of the breaks. And when you do that, now you have that tangible evidence to say, wow, like my break was here, and now like Coach, I'm telling you, like, and you'll see dudes will have, and you'll see like if guys start to really incorporate it, you may watch a film, you may watch a guy in practice or something, and maybe his footwork isn't the best, but if he snaps it down, I guarantee he's gonna have some separation for sure. So I'm telling, this has been the game changer for me.
No, I can see it. I mean, immediately I can see it's going to change everything.
Yeah.
I guess in air raid we focus so much on getting the catches in, the different kinds of catches, that we've never focused on dropping the hips.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, it could be just part of their warm up. Like, for us, I'm gonna like last year in our pre practice, obviously we do our stance and start, but I kind of worked where I kind of worked another aspect where they did work on violent hips every practice, every pre practice. Like even though if the focus that day wasn't necessarily breaks and stuff like that, maybe we were focusing more on something in indie, our pre-practice always incorporated it in there, so they were getting it in and constantly in their mind, like, okay, like violent hips, and it's just and it's just been, like I said, it's been super beneficial to the guys that that I work with. So and I owe it all to, like I said, Coach Dub, and just finding that, and yeah, it's been great. And the next one that we'll kind of segue into is some pressure step stuff. We're still gonna kind of focus on our hip drop, because the way I explain it to them, and Coach, it's funny, right? Because nowadays half of them don't even know what I'm talking about. But I always ask them if they know what a pinball machine is. And some the ones that do, I'm like, all right, well, the first thing that you do when you play pinball is you pull that lever back. Okay, so it snaps and hits that ball up, so now you can start playing. Okay, so I equate that to your hips. Like your hips are that spring. So when you sink your hips, what you're doing is you're coiling them, right? And you're tightening that spring. So now that when you're ready to break or drive out of there, it snaps out. All right. The best way I can explain it to them is if they've ever watched the combine, or they ever, if someone told you to do a vertical jump test, you're not going to get, you're not going to stand here, say your hips are here, and just sink a little bit to jump up as high as you can. No, you're going to squat down and explode up, because you have to coil your hips. All right. So one of the things that sometimes guys get into an issue with is they don't get down low enough. They don't sink that hip low enough. So now they're not as explosive coming out. Can they still get open? Yeah, sure, you can get open, but let's do it the best way possible. Okay. So, and that's this drill right here. All right. So once again, body position is extremely important. Making sure you sink the hips. So now his hips are sunk pretty good. This drill is great. Obviously, right here, you came in a little off balance. So you got to make sure, you're planting and sinking that hip. All right. And your body position is in the right manner, so you're not going to tip over. All right. Body control, balance is a key in just about every position, of course. Receiver play, absolutely. All right. I got this from Coach Lees with Sideline Hustle. And I've worked breakpoint stuff before. I like this focus, and I'll explain why. Is because these first couple right here, when you have to sink, and that's perfect right there. When you have to sink and balance, all right, because we're forcing the guys to balance, that is going to ensure that our foot, all right, we're not reaching out of our framework. Too many guys, when they get into these break points, especially these pressure steps, they reach this foot, okay, out here. And what happens is, right, if you take this picture, let's just say his foot is here. His foot is going to be so out of line with his hip that you're not going to have that explosion coming out. The same way I explain the hips coiling with the vertical jump test, I do it with this. Like if this dude, let's just say he was doing a vertical jump test, he's, his feet are shoulder width apart. Okay, obviously you can get him a little wider. He's obviously not getting ready for it, but if he was, but let's just say he was getting ready for a vertical jump test, but his feet were wide like this, and they were way outside of his frame. How explosive could he be? He's not going to be able to go anywhere. So that's how I explain it is you want to keep that, and this, it ensures like you have no choice but to keep that foot in your framework, because if not, you're either going to fall in or you're going to fall out, right? If he were to reach this foot out here, then his body weight is now still in between his legs, and he's going to fall in, because you have to take your body and distribute it over one foot to balance. Okay, so if you don't, you're going to fall in, or let's just say his momentum shifted this way, then he's going to fall out that way. That makes sense. So this drill, all right, especially in the beginning, these first 2 reps, it has them focus on balancing, okay, and getting that pressure step down. And now these last 2, you're going to just speed it up. And you see, okay, right, this could be better. He's reaching a little bit. So now you see how much, here's his hip and here's his foot. All right, he can still get out of the break, but it's just not going to be as clean. Okay, or it's not going to be as explosive. All right, but they get the 2. All right, and then the last one, after that last one, all right, he's going to come and catch the football. That one's not bad. Okay, once again, right, we're going to overemphasize in practice, so he if he falls back on it, but this is pretty good, right? So foot's here, hip is here, so not terrible. All right, and now he's able to come out of there, catch the football. Okay, I'm going to show you. This kid does a really good job. Let me move this so I can see. Okay, so this kid does a pretty, good job right here. Is, I mean, you could see like he's totally balanced. You could probably stay there all day. Okay, and now rev it up. So the first one, okay. Even this, it's slightly outside, but that's not bad. Okay, you can still get in and out of it. All right, he could tighten it up just a little bit, but that's not terrible. And then this last one, all right, you can see that it's in the frame. And now you're talking about hips coiled, and you're going to be absolutely able to generate force coming out of there. All right, so, and you'll see, I'm gonna have them work on their pressure step stuff. Dang, hold on, I just screwed something up. They're gonna work on their pressure step stuff. And you're going to see the big difference with some of their speed out cuts. But you see the first 2, just making sure they're balanced. Okay, so you want to take it slow. All right, he's doing a good job here, right? All right, he sinks and plants. All right, hip is sunk, good. Not reaching, can't reach, right? Because you're going to fall over. But then these next 2, when he speeds it up, boom. All right, pretty good. Okay, because you see once it lands, all right, he's pretty in line. Now he can drive out, and then same thing here, right? Foot, okay, hip, pretty much in line. So now he's able to explode out. You're keeping that structural integrity, I guess, would be the proper term, right? Once you get that foot outside of your hip, though, you just lose a lot of that. And once again, the analogy is if you were lining up for a vertical jump test, you're not going to line up with your feet wide because you have no explosion coming out. And then obviously, finishing with the catch at the end. Okay, the focus would be, especially, depending on where the ball is coming from, that ball is coming straight at you, getting your arms extended so we can, little things like that, like, hey, get your arms extended so we cut down the flight time of the ball, right? Gives the defender less of a chance to make a play on it. I'll throw it from the side here. And then the emphasis is always pulling that ball into your near pec, right? Because once again, it cuts down the flight time, right? I'm faster if I catch the football and pull it here than I do pulling it all the way out here. And also we talk about, if you're running like a slant, it's a good example. You run a slant and you catch that football. Well, if that defender that was over you, all right, is still defend, he's looking to defend you. He's not going to go to where you are. He's going to go to where you're going. So he's got to attack that upfield shoulder. So pulling it into your near pec forces the defender now to have to fight through your body, all right, to make that catch. Like if I were to pull that ball in on a slant, all right, and that dude's going for my upfield shoulder and I pull it here, I'm pulling it right to where he's coming. So now he has more of an opportunity to punch that ball out. So like we'll change up the throwing angle here, and then we'll even do some over the shoulder stuff, high, late hands, and things like that. So it's always it's always something that we're working, and then they can see that. So and that's just and that's with that drill, coach. Like and it's something actually I was working on it with those guys yesterday because we did a lot of pressure step stuff yesterday, and it was just a lot of that focus, like make sure you're balanced, okay, and really being explosive coming out and sinking that hip. So once again, it ties back into just getting those hips down.
I hate to say it, we actually had that second drill we do that as an air raid drill, but I kind of got rid of it because I didn't really understand the purpose of it.
Sure.
Until you just taught that thing. When the way you taught it, it makes perfect sense why that's such an important drill.
Yeah, I'm telling you, coach, a couple things, like you'll see here with this, we're working some speed out stuff here. And there's always like, there's two glaring issues with young receivers running like speed outs, for instance. Number one comes from the reach of that foot. Guys just getting out, I guess three then. If they're not sinking their hip enough, all right, number one. Number two, reaching that foot way out. And then the third one is always pumping your arms through the break. So we want to make sure that we're gonna focus on all those things. And once again, that break itself and making sure we're not reaching is so important. So important because I'm sure you've seen it, right? A guy will end up coming and going a jab way hard outside. And now his foot is so far outside of his frame, he slips or something like that. And it's because he's reaching so much. So constantly working it that way, it ingrains that muscle memory. It teaches them to keep that foot in tight. You're not going to we already know that when we get into a game, our foot is not necessarily going to be directly under us or that super close. But we know that working it so much that it's still going to be good enough to come out of there effectively. Yeah. So that's awesome that you guys do that. That you guys were doing that drill though.
Well, we were doing it. I'm telling you, until you just taught it that way, I didn't understand the importance of it. So I kind of kicked it out of there. We like I said, we focus so much on how you catch the football as an air. All of our air raid drills are how you catch it, and we need to. You just made us a lot better. I'll put you that.
Well,
and to segue into, go ahead and end your share. I want to go ahead and give you a commercial. You came and worked with our receivers during the summertime, and you actually do some personal training for guys who are in the North Carolina area, especially in the Fayetteville area. And you just gave the best commercial in the world because I need to get you back out with now I understand what you're doing. I want to back out with our guys, but talk a little bit about your sideline hustle and your personal training stuff.
Absolutely. So I was doing some obviously training in the local area, just working with receivers. I still do, and then was very fortunate enough to get up with Coach Leaves from Sideline Hustle, the creator of Sideline Hustle, and him and I have obviously built up a good relationship over the years. And he had early in the year named me the Sideline Hustle North Carolina trainer. So I'll go around to different parts of the state and work guys out. Obviously, I came in and worked your guys out, Coach, which was a blast. Getting a bunch of those young dudes out there, and he's got a couple studs over there for sure. And then going up to. I've been out to the Charlotte area. So like, I'm always willing, able and willing to go to these places and get out there. And it's just working on stuff like this, making sure that, we're hitting multiple aspects or all aspects, of receiver play. Obviously the route running is always some of the more, the fun stuff, I guess, but really just shoring up some things in their game. And it's just a blast, man. Like out here in the Fayetteville area, shoot, I have like 4 sessions a week that guys could just show, the guys will show up and we get after it. Like yesterday we had about 6 guys out there, and it's just a lot of fun, man. They compete, they get better, everywhere from college level to, I have a couple 9th graders. So anytime, like if anybody, was ever interested in training, or, whether it's individual or, their group, like I had with Coach Salas, I'd be more than willing to. Love it. It's a lot of fun for me. I love coaching receiver play. It's funny how I fell into it, and now it's just become, my avenue, I guess you could say. So
I tell you, number one, it was super impressive. Just those 2 little drills, as simple as those were, the detail you put into it and the way you explained it was just high level. And I hate to say it, when you worked with my crew, it was during the lockdown, and I wasn't allowed to be out there. So I didn't get to see it. And that hurt because I didn't see how high level it was. That was truly impressive, and really a game changer. How can they contact you through? Is Twitter the best way still?
Yeah, absolutely. Twitter or Instagram. I know some players, will contact me on Instagram, but on Twitter, it's coach_G32. And then on Instagram, it's just JGrand, so JGRAND 32. And yeah, I mean, anybody who's willing or wants to train, I'm all for it, man. I love this stuff. So definitely reach out. And before we wrap it up, Coach, if I could just show, if you wouldn't mind, I want to show you. I'll just show one of the clips from some half line stuff that we did, and you can just kind of see a violent hip drop here, and I'll get it rolling. I gotta find it. I think it's this one. Is my screen? Oh no, I gotta share it again.
Yeah, I gotta share it.
Yeah, I just want to show this one, and then just so you can kind of see it in. All right, yeah, it's this one. Okay. Okay, so this dude on the left right here, very good player, super explosive. But he's another one that we incorporated violent hips. You're gonna see, so he's gonna run what we call a blaze out, and all it is a post out. Okay, and you're gonna see at the top part of this route. All right, when he snaps it down, boom. It's just when you can get out in 2, boom, snap it down. All right. The footwork, once again, all right, his footwork could be a lot cleaner, but you see the violent hips, he's just able to get out. He's just able to get out so cleanly, or a lot, just more effectively than the other guy. Now, obviously the guy's eyes are, in a different spot, but you could see when you just snap that hip down, how you're able to just create separation. All right. And that's not even the cleanest of footwork. Okay. And then one more I want to show just because I had it queued up, and it's just from the pros here. Okay. This is Jakeem Grant from the Dolphins. Now he doesn't even get the ball thrown to him, but you're going to see, can you still see that, Coach?
Yep.
Okay. At the top part of the screen, watch how violently he gets out. He's got good footwork, but those hips are so violent. Look at that separation. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like if you were to time both of their breaks, it wouldn't even be close. Like watch how much separation he creates at the top. That dude is still sprinting upfield. And it's not like, okay, well, I have to slow myself down so I can make. No, if you violently snap your hips down, you can run hard. You can be in that full sprint and still get out, because the faster you get your hips down, right, the more force that you're creating. That's a beautiful rep right there. And he is wide open. So those are just 2 examples that I wanted to show, Coach. But you could see, in game how effective it is.
Yeah, no, those are beautiful. I like the half line one, because you could tell that kid's feet weren't that good. No. It was all about the hips. So even with sloppier footwork, he still destroyed it.
Right.
And then obviously with the NFL guy, he put them both together. It's real nice.
Right. So now you take
that much separation in the NFL, you're doing something.
Right. And now you take violent hips with clean feet, and it's like, you become almost unguardable. Like, it's just very difficult, very difficult.
Well, you did a fantastic job, brother.
Appreciate it.
I'm glad we finally got this together. I know you just made me a lot better.
Wow.
The way you explain the purpose of it, and especially that first drill, just so it seems so simple that you could add that in, and
Yep.
that could be an everyday drill, just a few minutes every day, and you could get a lot of improvement over the season.
Oh, I'm telling you. Well, I appreciate that, Coach, and obviously, I'm just paying it back from all the knowledge you dropped on us during the pandemic, during those some of those clinics that you were gracious enough to come on and work with the rest of the coaches, man. It was awesome. So I appreciate the
opportunity. You just paid me back because you made me a lot better just now. So
and you already know. Hey, Coach, you already know. I mean, you already know I've been thinking about getting back on there at some point and getting some clinics in. So, I'll be calling you.
Anytime, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.